Hey guys, Justin Conroy, Financial Dad here, and in this video I'm going to tell you about the 5 biggest money mistakes to avoid in your 20s. If this is your first time here and you want to learn tips, tricks, and hacks related to personal finance, how to build wealth, and how to better manage your money, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a thing. Alright, let's go ahead and get right into it. First item on my list is trying to keep up with the Joneses. And by this I mean the expensive cars, the nice houses, the nice apartments, the jewelry, the accessories, the watches, you get the idea. Let's be real, in your 20s, you generally speaking don't make a lot of money compared to what you'll probably make later in life, and what little money you do have, you probably don't know how to manage it very well in the first place. And people get really confused about the idea of what it means to be wealthy and rich, and what that lifestyle actually means. And I'll tell you from first-hand experience, being wealthy does not actually mean going out and buying extravagant things, going out and doing whatever you want all the time, buying the things that you want all the time. It's really about saving and investing and making sure you are deliberate about what you do with your money so that you can do the things that you want to do in the future. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't spend any of your money on having fun, because let's be honest, having a job and making money in your 20s, part of the reason you're doing it in the first place is to have fun. What I'm really saying here is that you should be deliberate about the money that you spend, set aside a certain amount of money every month, budget it if you will, and make sure that that's the only money that you spend on discretionary spending. Now, only you can figure out what that number is for you, but the important thing is to have the number in the first place. If you just make money and spend it at will, it's never going to save, and you're never going to invest, and you're never going to really make it anywhere in life. Let's talk about number 2 on my list, which is student loans. Now, this mistake comes in 2 separate forms, and so I'll address them like this. If you're in your early 20s and you're still in the process of going through college and accumulating more and more student loan debt, this is one of those things where, trust me, your 30-year-old self will hate you for it once you get there. I myself am 34 years old. I've got a lot of friends in this age range right now, and they are looking back at themselves in their early years saying, why did I do this? Why did I take on so much debt? And this is just one of those things that when you're in your early 20s, you don't realize the impact this is going to have on your life for the next decade. So in case you don't know, the average student graduates with about $35,000 in debt, and right now the average interest rate is about 5.8%. That means that over the course of a decade, as you pay it off, if you only make the minimum payments, which a lot of people do, you would pay somewhere in the neighborhood of $11,000 to $12,000 in interest just on your student loans, which is a good segue into the second mistake people make in their 20s when it comes to student loans, and that's not paying it off fast enough, not putting enough priority into paying that loan off as soon as possible. Because, like I said, if you're only paying the minimum payments with the average numbers of the average US student right now, $11,000 in interest is a tremendous amount of money. And so if you're in your late 20s and you're waiting on some government bill to come through, some debt relief fund to come through, you're just costing yourself money, because in all likelihood, that's not going to happen anytime soon, if ever. I've got too many friends who are waiting around for something like this over the last 10 years, and it's still nowhere near coming, and all they've done is cost themselves money. The best thing you can do for yourself is just to focus, put priority on it, pay the loan down as soon as possible, and just be done with it and move on with your life. Moving on to number 3 on my list, which is not contributing to your retirement account, or not contributing enough to your retirement account. Either way, this is a huge mistake that you can make in your 20s, and unfortunately, it is a huge mistake that a lot of people in their 20s absolutely make. This is one of those situations where your older self will absolutely look back on your 20-year-old self and think to themselves, man, what an idiot. Why didn't I contribute to my retirement? Because this is one of those things where compound interest, I'm sure as you know by now, compound interest is a wonderful, beautiful thing. The more money you put into your retirement account now, the bigger it will be later, and the easier it will be to maintain, and the easier your life will be in general, because you'll have enough money to retire with. Now, if you've just graduated college and you're working for a company that has a 401k program with a match, you should absolutely, at absolute bare minimum, be contributing to get that match, because it's a built-in raise to your benefits package that is extremely easy to take. All you have to do is basically check a box and get the raise. Now, if your company doesn't offer a 401k, or maybe if they don't offer a match, a Roth IRA is another good option for you to start your retirement account. and they're really, really easy to set up. All you got to do is go to Google and say how to open Roth IRA, and you'll find all sorts of stuff out there. Just do it. This is one of those things where all you need to do is dedicate a set amount of money out of your paycheck every month, have it go to your retirement account, and pretend like you don't have it. Your older self will thank you. Coming in at number 4 on my list is not talking with your spouse or future partner about money. There's 2 statistics I want to raise here. Did you know that number 1, the average American gets married at the age of 28? And number 2, the number 3 reason for divorce in the United States is money. Now those 2 things combined mean that money is something that people really, really need to figure out before they get married, because if you don't, it can put a huge strain on your relationship moving forward. So I would highly recommend, if you're dating someone that you're serious about, or if you've just gotten married, take the time, sit down, and talk about some of the bigger issues around money that may impact some decisions in your life. For example, have you ever talked to your spouse about how you're going to handle money when you get married? Are you going to merge bank accounts? Are you going to keep everything separate? Are you going to do something in the middle somehow? Have you ever talked to your spouse about what happens if one person makes significantly more money than the other? Is this person going to get to do anything they want? Is this person going to feel entitled to do what they want? These are big questions that you have to address. What about this? Have you ever talked to your spouse about your philosophies around debt and debt payoff, or investing or saving? Let's talk about the debt one for a second. You may find that maybe in your case, you really just want to pay off your debts as fast as possible because you know in your mind that's the right thing to do. And then you might ask your spouse or future partner that same question. Hey, what do you feel about debt? You know, we're going to pay that off pretty quick, right? And they'll say, what? What are you talking about? Well, we're just going to pay the minimum and, you know, just ride the wave and let that go. I mean, and for some people, that could be a deal breaker. The point is here is that not having these discussions in your 20s with your future spouse or your new spouse in some cases can actually be a huge mistake, because it will put strain on your relationship that, trust me, it does not need. Marriages and relationships take a lot of work, and the less stress that you can put on them for dumb things like money, the better off that your relationship will be overall, because you can put more energy into fixing the other, bigger, more important things. Coming in at number 5 on my list is not building up your credit score. And now this can be a huge money mistake in your 20s, because did you know the average age to buy a home for the first time in the United States is 32 years old, which means your 20s is when you need to be working on that credit score, because the credit score is going to define how good of an interest rate you can get on your first mortgage, and that interest rate is then going to define how much, of course, interest you're paying, which defines how much money you're going to be paying the bank to finance your house in the long run. Now, building up your credit score can feel like an absolutely daunting task, but it's really not that bad once you understand how the credit score is calculated. Now, I've got an entire video on that topic right up here, so be sure to check that out. But I'll go ahead and tell you that the first thing you should do in your 20s, if you haven't already, is go get yourself a credit card. Don't use it for anything except building your credit, which basically means buy one thing per month on it, something small, something $5, $10, and just pay it off at the end of the month. Don't ever pay any interest on the card. If you pay your statement balance at the end of the month, when your bill is due, you will not be charged any interest, and you will do nothing more than build your credit. It's a very, very, very simple process. You just have to understand how credit cards work. And that step alone will put you on the path of building your credit score so that you can get a good interest rate on your first home and not pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest. But hey, if you made it this far in the video and you're in your 20s, chances are you don't really know that much about personal finance. So be sure and click and watch the video on the screen right now, because it will give you an introduction to the basics of personal finance and get you on your path to being wealthy. Thanks for watching.